How are you?
I'm good, Dr. Rock. How are you today?
I'm really good. I'm hanging in there. We've had some big storms that have come through. So actually we lost power. So I'm at my in-laws' home. And
Wow.
lucky, I feel very grateful that I have that option to
Right.
come to my family's home. And so yeah, I thought we'd talk about gratitude today, but yeah. Let's
Yes.
do it. How are you doing otherwise?
Good. It's raining here, but not like there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I was talking to a friend yesterday because, if you're in California, oh, looks like Dr. Yashoda's here too. I'm gonna
Excellent.
invite her on.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Yashoda. We were just talking about the rain, and I was saying I was talking to a friend yesterday in California, and we've been saying because we're in drought, we're not allowed to complain about the rain. And then my friend said, I'm so done with the rain. I'm complaining. I don't care.
I know. I hope you
Anyway,
guys are okay. I've been like following your posts on Slack, and I hope you guys are doing all right. Sounds like it's pretty rough down there.
the rain has passed. It's a very sunny day today. It's
Good.
beautiful outside, and a couple 100,000 people don't have power.
Wow.
Oh,
And so, but
man.
my in-laws have power, so I'm here at my in-laws. I was messaging you guys about what we talk about today, and that's where gratitude came from because I was so grateful that I have this option to come here. But first,
Totally.
let's welcome our viewers. And Dr. Lori, you want to say a
I'm
little bit
working.
about Mora?
Yes, yes. And by the way, I'm working on why it's not streaming to Facebook, so I'm not sure why it's not working again. Anyway, yes, Mora Medical is a virtual medical practice, and we provide group medical visits and some one-on-ones for individuals who are seeking to improve their health through lifestyle medicine. Our doctors are very skilled at de-prescribing medications and helping you get into the healthy habits to really improve and maintain health for the long term.
Awesome. Yeah. And you can find us at mora.com, mora.com.
Yes.
And we have Dr. Yashoda joining us. This, I think, is your first foray into the live stream. Is that right?
It is. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah, I'm
Welcome.
excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. And where are you right now? I know you've been moving around a lot. You're
Oh
in.
gosh. Yeah, I'm in Washington right now, the state of Washington. I'm in Bellingham, and it's a beautiful day, though. We just went for an hour-long walk before this started, so it's kind of nice to be able to walk outside and be in nature and all that kind of fun stuff, right? We definitely try to practice what we preach at Mora.
That's right. That's right. Oh, speaking of nature, I saw there is a new subgroup in our professional society, American College of Lifestyle Medicine, is a Nature as
Hmm.
Medicine member interest group,
Oh,
which
wow.
you
Yeah.
probably know who's leading that.
Yeah. Dr. Melissa, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. But that's really cool. So, and then you otherwise live in Hawaii, which also has beautiful nature.
It does. I know it's kind of interesting because it's more urban here in a way, and I feel like where we live in Hawaii is more rural, and of course we have the beaches.
Hmm.
But the nice thing is you can find a trail anywhere. So I literally live like 3 minutes from Costco, and there's like all these apartment complexes. And so a little bit of like, okay, what do we mean by being out in nature, right? And you can find places in your somewhere, a park, every
Hmm.
city almost has some green space.
That's
And I
right.
just discovered there's a trail that goes all the way around the back yesterday, but I didn't have time, so I'm going to check it out. But even like just being out in nature and thinking about gratitude, which I know we wanted to talk about, is
Yeah.
just so much gratitude for just even being alive, just
Hmm.
the fresh air, seeing the buds starting to bloom on the on the trees. It's like
Hmm.
early spring. Of course, there's no flowers yet, but knowing what's to come and being grateful for that. Um, like so many opportunities to practice gratitude, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Do either of you, Dr. Lori or Dr. Yashoda, have a regular gratitude practice, like something you do on a daily basis?
I should. I have a lot to be grateful for. So yes, I think when I'm walking with my dog, that's when I kind of do a walking meditation, which is often, looking around and being thankful, and that's what sends me. That's my trigger, so to speak, for that habit. But yeah, I wish I did it on a get up in the morning and start my day with gratitude, but I don't. But it would be a wonderful way to start the day.
What about you, Dr.? No, I mean, I think to your point, Dr. Lori, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like sitting down and writing. It could be at a certain time of the day or a certain activity where you use that to reflect. I'll say, I drop my kids off to school in the morning, and that's when we all just go around and say something. And that right now is my gratitude practice, because I don't know if I have the bandwidth to have a journal and stuff right now. So I thought about that. I was like, I want to be grateful for something every day, and then it would be wonderful if I do it with my kids.
Absolutely.
Dr. Yashoda, do you have any?
I wish I was that organized, Rack, but no. But you know what? It's kind of interesting because I think for me, the practice is looking for those moments throughout the day to sprinkle gratitude, right? So maybe I'm frustrated, or maybe I'm stressed, or, we all go through those emotions in our life, right? Even if everything seems perfect. And I think I've sort of trained myself to use that as the cue or the trigger to then remind myself of all the things to be grateful for. And I just love that practice because it doesn't feel like I have to force myself to sit down and do something that is unnatural, but just build it in the day. And, I can see my mind kind of going off in this trajectory of negativity for whatever reason. And then I will pull myself back and say, now, wait a second. Just stop thinking like that and think of what can be grateful for right now. And just when you go looking for that, right? You go looking for that, the pearl in the oyster, or, however you want to see it, you can find it, and it might be just, like I said, like looking out the window and seeing the blooms on the trees, or, my husband walking by with a cup of coffee and just appreciating how rich my life is. And that brings me back to that sort of balance point, because I think when we are in a negative emotion, negative feeling, it's so easy to get caught up in that, right? It can be it feeds on itself almost. Yeah.
Absolutely. So my power's been out for more than a day, and the last night I could have hand washed the dishes, but I didn't, and the dishwasher didn't have power, so there's a big pile of dishes this morning, and I was expecting it to be back on this morning, and I could see my mind going in that direction. But then on that car ride, we finally got out of the door. On that car ride, that's my kids. My daughter said, I'm grateful that we have shelter. I'm grateful that you could use the stove this morning. I'm grateful that we had hot water for shower. Like, I was like, whoa, yes. So that's in any situation, you can look at the difficulty, and then you can choose in that situation also to look at and your brain intensifies that. Just to your point, Dr. Yashoda, like if you pick out the negative and you see the negative, then your brain all day will sort of look for examples of that. Yeah. Dr. Lori, you have any thoughts?
It's interesting. I think gratitude is something we take for granted, that we even have the ability, because when we live in such a unique place in the United States, at least here, so much to be grateful for, and just a sense of safety for the most part. Other than the crazy weather, I mean, food availability, even if someone is struggling, there are opportunities, and granted, there's a lot we need to improve, but it's just Yeah, it's funny what you start complaining about when you have so much excess. It's like first world problems. And so that, what I like to do is remember a time when I was in a place that really reminded me to be grateful for what I have. And so that was when I was in Africa 6-7 years ago. We did a 2-week mission trip, and we were literally in rural Africa. There was no running water, no electricity. And it was obviously no indoor plumbing, things like that. And it really reminded me to, when I go home, to be thankful for what I do have, and not complain that Starbucks is taking too long to fill whatever order, or someone is not responding to an email, or whatever. So it just reminds you how silly sometimes some of the things that we get hyped up on and anxious about. And I think we create anxiety by not being grateful for the things that we do have.
That reminded me of this medical term called email apnea. Have you heard of this?
No.
People are literally not breathing because
Oh my God.
looking at their screen,
Holding their breath.
holding their breath.
Oh man.
Oh, that's perspective. That's what I hear, is that that experience and taking yourself back to that just gives you that perspective, because we can get caught up in like how much we don't have, or what is lacking or missing, Yeah.
I think we work so hard to make everything perfect and control everything. That's a piece. And I will say also, another time in my life was last year when we were going through selling plant-based telehealth. That was a really stressful period of time, just because it's just a lot going on.
Right.
And our CEO of Mora, Murthy, gave me a book called The Surrender Project. And it was great because it really gave me a different way of thinking about the thoughts. And it really put me down this rabbit hole of thought, either what can I do to prevent the thoughts that are causing anxiety? Because they're telling me lies. These thoughts are just random chatter in my head, but I'm listening and responding to them. So it was really nice to understand, looking at yourself, you're kind of this other person, so to speak, watching. You're a being that's watching what's going on here. You just happen to inhabit the body, which is an interesting perspective. And it was really fascinating, and it really helped a lot with the anxiety and the stress of going through that. And again, that's another, asset and tool that I can use regularly as well. But sometimes I forget. But this is where the self-talk piece comes in, because I was wondering, how can I change the chatter? And I'm finding that the more I use Dr. Shed Helmstedter's self-talk, the chatter is changing. Like it's like the chatter talks to itself. So it's maybe I'm developing multiple personalities. I don't know, but it seems to be going in the right direction. So that is to my benefit, to actually listen to to things that are giving myself another self-programming for discussion, my self-discussion that's occurring.
Yeah. So in that, I hear 2 recommendations. The Surrender Project, it sounds like, had a really dramatic impact on you and helping you through your anxiety in a really stressful time.
Yeah.
And what's the kind of one-liner for that book?
Whew,
Or is that hard?
if there was a one-liner to really understand, is that you are not the voices you hear in your head. That voice, right? You are not that person. You're not that being. You're not the stories, right? So for example, in this simple, goofy way to say, in my head, if I said I'm a pink elephant, well, obviously I'm not a pink elephant, but that thought just popped into my head. I'm a pink elephant, but I'm not a pink elephant. And I know that. So there's lots of other more subtle just things that are being said, or causing anxiety. It's almost like, let's say that email, right, that you're worried about, you're like in a stressful job, and emails cause a lot of frustration. You've already told yourself that you're going to be getting an email that's stressful. Like, the boss always sends email. I'm not going to respond. I'm not capable of dealing with this problem, whatever. Well, yeah, if you keep saying that, you're going to believe it. And that's probably how you will respond, versus it's an email. They're words. These are people. I'm safe. it'll be okay, and I am capable of responding, and if I don't, I can go seek help. And so we take the rationality because this chatter is just constantly discussing with us. And yeah, it's really fascinating. It's just, when you think about it, just all the things that go on in your head. You look at yourself in the mirror and you don't like how you look someday, or your kids are frustrating you and you're just like, why did I have children? Why am I a bad mom? Or whatever it might be.
Oh,
Those things always, they're just playing in your head. Or if something doesn't work out, you try to blame yourself. But honestly, don't blame yourself. This is just step outside and just watch what's going on. Think of those thoughts and those, this is much more than a one-liner. Watch those thoughts and just kind of stream by, the things that you're hearing. That's kind of.
So this is interesting, because now taking that in conjunction with self-talk,
Yes.
you've gotten very into self-talk. You've gotten
deep.
A lot of us very into self-talk.
I love it so much.
Dr. Yashoda, are you doing any self-talk?
Oh my goodness. I'll answer this a different way. Kind of what Lori mentioned earlier, like all these different personalities. There's actually a whole system of therapy called the internal family systems that was developed by Dick Schwartz. And it's exactly that we actually do have these sort of multiple personalities, if that's what you want to call it. But we have multiple voices, right? And they've been with us for a very long time, probably since childhood. And we've gotten so used to them being in our head that we don't even recognize that we have all these different pieces to us, So there's the devil and the angel, like we know that, right? The example of the devil and the angel, one on each shoulder, but there's so many different personalities. And I love what Dr. Lori said, is starting to recognize that and realizing, what are thoughts at the end of the day, right? They're like vibrations. There are these our neurons are connecting and creating these ideas and beliefs and visions that really comes from our life experience. And so we can look at them and we can say, I love the pink elephant that Lori said. Just because a thought popped up that I'm a pink elephant doesn't make me a pink elephant, And it's kind of a funny example, but I think, we talk about this a lot, right? And at Mora as well, the mindfulness piece is first stopping and noticing, becoming aware of these thoughts that are floating through our head all day long, and then starting to parse it out and say, do I really need to believe this? Like, is this going to be helpful or is this going to harm me? If it's going to keep me negative and anxious and stressed and not being willing to do anything to kind of get myself out of it, then that's not a useful thought to begin with. But I think I've noticed self-talk a lot more, especially as I got trained as a coach, that's part of the training, right? Like really observing your thoughts. And then I think I love to bring in a little bit of like humor in it, kind of like pink elephant, it's like you kind of have to like chuckle at ourselves. I think sometimes me personally, I tend to take myself a little bit too serious, I think. So it's kind of nice to look at a thought and go, now wait a minute, right? Like, come on, like that's not true, So bringing that in and having that sort of gentle, friendly relationship with all those different pieces is helpful. And then I think, like what Lori said, it's the self, right? With the big S is sort of the ultimate, is that beacon that we all have. It's like a test strip. Like, is this true or not true for me, right? That is your ultimate sort of, I don't know. We could talk a lot about this kind of stuff.
We could talk a lot about
we geek about this stuff.
I similarly, like both of you, I have to remind myself that my thoughts are they're just a creation of my mind. And I'm constantly creating new ones. Like, how could they ever have certainty? Right? They're just my creation. I mean, they can have as much certainty as I give them. And if you give your thoughts, if you tell yourself my thoughts must be true, then they create, even without awareness, right? They create emotions within you. Your thoughts create emotions, and then they direct your actions. So this is how your thoughts sort of, I think, in a very direct way, create your reality.
I love that, Rock, that you were saying is that it creates your reality, because what I hear from that is that you're literally causing the triggers to respond, right? So it brings me back to another resource for people is the anxiety model of looking at and handling anxiety through mindfulness. And Judd Brewer's work around anxiety is really cool to see patients who understand anxiety is a physical response. Granted, I'm not saying that, all anxiety is under your control or anything like that. I'm just saying something to think about it as a habit, right? So we create this response, and then that is our default pathway behavior. Like, for example, the email from your boss, or a request for a meeting, or, a note from your kid's teacher, or whatever it might be, or the bill that comes due. Our default response is anxiety, and we build upon that. And the more we do that, the easier and the more common that response is. So then you just become to believe you are an anxious person because of all these different things. And that doesn't necessarily be it. You may be more prone to anxiety because of your life experiences have left you in this kind of place, or genetically, I'm sure there's some piece of that. But again, it doesn't have to be destiny. But when you're mindful of the opportunity, and then take actions to create calmness in response to whatever the trigger was, you can change your behavior in that automatic response. You're changing the habit of anxiety to some response. And I know sometimes with people with food, they get stressed and they immediately go to eat, this emotional trigger, that response. So, it's a matter of stepping back and giving your space and time to reflect and just see what happens. Check in, like you said, with the body. I love how you described that experience with that patient in one of our meetings, and how good it was. But yeah, I love that, what you're saying. Absolutely.
No, I mean, first of all, I love Dr. Judd too. I love his his lab has studied, brain scans of people, advanced meditators, and it's just fascinating. I learned from his books and his writing about the default mode network, the structure of brain structures that are sort of activated when we are still. So when we're not moving, there are certain brain structures that are more active. Not in everyone, but in most people. And what are those involved with? They're involved with self-referential thinking about ourselves, and ruminating. So when you're not moving, this is why, for many people, movement and exercise gets them out of their head, right? Because things start to calm down that whole network. And meditation does that too. When they do the scans of advanced meditators, they're meditating, their default mode network is way quieted down. So it's those thoughts that we have about ourselves, the stories we tell about ourselves, worrying about the past, or, reliving the past, or worrying about future that hasn't happened yet. And then it lives all up here, and then it creates these emotions, and then it manifests that through our actions in our life.
Yep. And it's another thing that happens. I'm definitely prone to this, would be waking up in the middle of the night, like usually 3 a.m., and thinking of something that, I'm working on or stressed about or whatever. And then the brain just goes. Like, it's like sitting back and watching a riot occur sometimes in my brain. It's like, well, I am awake now, So the really nice thing that Judd has some nice apps that you can use that I learned, like the body scan piece. And just like, okay, Lori, we're going to let the riot occur, but it's going to go off over there, and we're going somewhere else. And so, we're going to take a little adventure over here. And just that body scan really helps, because you're just checking in with your toes, moving up. And that was really powerful to understand that I could redirect. And when my brain wanted to go back to the riot, it's like, nope, come on back over here. And that really will help. And then also, we were talking last week, we're building this course for our patients, and the setting intention. So I really, at night before I go to bed, I've started telling myself, my intention is to sleep until the morning when my alarm goes off.
Mhm.
And when I wake up, it's kind of funny. It's the funny thing is like, Laura, you set the intention to go to sleep. So you need to go back to sleep now. And that has really been helpful. So it's really fascinating. So I don't know what the brain's doing in there, but I'm trying to talk myself into going back to sleep.
There must be self-talk for sleep too.
Yeah,
there
that's
is
what I was going to
self-talk for
say.
sleep. Dr. Helmstetter does have self-talk for sleep. Yes, he does.
Okay.
Yes, and I need to start playing it before I go to bed. But
I think I should do that too.
I think it's one of those things, right? Like the power of suggestion. I mean, we could kind of, you know, even if you're skeptical about it, I say like try
Don't be
it,
skeptical.
like, right? Because people are like, I don't know if that works or whatever, but it's like, what are you going to lose by trying it? The worst case scenario is it doesn't work, right? But the best case scenario is that it might. And honestly, our brains, like we get to decide what we want to do with our brain. The whole idea of neuroplasticity, 30 years ago, people thought you couldn't teach an old dog new tricks. And guess what? You can. I don't know about old dog, but old people for sure, right? So why not use that power? Why not harness that for our benefit and for being more happy and just leading a joyful life,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I want to just highlight one thing you said, Dr. Lori, and maybe you want to talk more about it, was that you said we're developing a course.
Yeah. Yes. 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 So if you're one of our current patients, we'll deploying it to you and any new patients. And the beautiful thing about this is that we're taking everything we've been teaching within our circles, our groups, and putting it in a course that's a little bit more digestible on a daily basis. So there's this constant reinforcement of today, this is what I need to focus on for my health versus once a week. Like, okay, I met my meeting, and then you forget about us for a week, So we want to be that constant reminder, but these are also very actionable things, like learning how to cook in the kitchen with Catherine, mindfulness with Rock, thoughtful, insights and psychological about we talked about limitations today when we were recording Yashoda, and just some really cool things. So I get to be listen to everyone do these amazing recordings, and it's pretty phenomenal. I'm totally stoked about where it's going. We really talk about behavior, how to build this sustainable, choices that benefit your health instead of causing you harm. Because again, it goes back to the 3-pound organ between your ears really dictates the life that you have in every single way for the 99% of the time. You're here because you're in the place you are because of the choices that we've made. And sometimes we think we don't have choices when we actually do. And so I hope that's where we're going with this course, is that we build in hope and understanding and really answer, besides the practical questions of how do I cook, let's say a whole food plant-based diet, but really just changing this mindset, because I feel like if we can change the mindset of our patients who are open to that discussion, they'll have phenomenal success.
It's like a light bulb goes off.
Yes.
When somebody realizes that good health doesn't have to be a punishment, actually can be very enjoyable and leads to all these other wonderful things in their life, more fulfillment, more energy, leads to the life that they actually want to live. But you can tell them that as much as you want, but they have to experience it. And so it's that, it's that mindset. It's just like what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not aware of any other medical group in the world that is approaching comprehensive lifestyle change, both with the knowledge and the skills and the expertise and the mindset and the coaching that one needs to be succcussful. I mean, that's why this group is, anyway, I get chills. Like, it's really cool because how this team has come together, because there's really phenomenal people. It's really, I agree with you. It's been incredible to see everyone's pieces coming together, and how, so we're really excited about this course.
We have such an amazing team, medical team and support team. I mean,
absolutely.
Holy mackerel. I can't even begin to tell you. It's like the most coolest thing I've ever done. So
Yeah.
I'm just excited to see where we are in a year or 2 years, 3 years. And then just to hear about all these amazing patient stories. I mean, we're small right now, but as we continue to grow, it's just, it's just amazing. So
The last thing I'll say about gratitude, I was just reminded, as you were saying, as you were paying gratitude to our incredible team, and then I checked in with how I was feeling. I was like, oh, that feels really good. It feels good. So I want to remind everyone listening and remind all of us, you don't just do a gratitude practice because someone told you to, you should be doing it. It's like good to pay gratitude. It's actually, it feels good. And it creates this, I think Dr. Yashoda said, this vibration, this energy, that then like changes your experience of your day and your life. So,
and you take it out into the world too, right? Like I'm just like walking around beaming at everybody. They probably think, who's this crazy woman, out here in the cold with her gloves on, just
That's
like
right.
beaming at everybody.
That's
You
right.
can't but help be happy. And that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that life doesn't have its struggles. Again, not to minimize that, like Laurie was saying, we are very privileged to live in a country like this where we take a lot of things for granted. So not trying to poo-poo like really hard times that people go through, but just to kind of, just look for things to be grateful for and just start there and see how it changes your life.
Yeah.
I mean, it could literally be as simple as you walk outside and see a tree and like, I'm thankful for, seeing green, or you're thankful for the beautiful snow, even if you're snowed in, or, walking to a grocery store and seeing, wow, I have food availability to me. Yeah. So it's just, or if you have a friend or family member that you're thankful for that's in your life that cares for you. It can be as simple as that, or just looking in the mirror and saying, I'm thankful to be alive another day to make this a better day for myself and someone else. So there's so many ways you can do it. You just have to start and just start small.
Yeah. Yeah. Some interesting ways, and that I don't do these necessarily, but I've heard of these. Like you can send one text message a day to somebody just that you're appreciating in your life. And it can be anyone. And so suddenly you're like texting a friend from high school or that I don't know, can lead to like lots of conversations. This is how you can write. And I was saying, like, a lot of people do this. They journal or they just have a notebook. I mean, I have a notebook next to me. I don't use it every day, but I used to. Because you can just have a notebook on your bathroom vanity or something, and you write a couple things at the end of the day, or you write a couple things in the morning. You can put it next to your bedside. And then what I really like is doing it as a family. So I do it in the car, but you could do it at the dinner table. And these are questions. They don't have to be just like, what were you grateful for? You can think of like Rachel Naomi Remen, who kind of taught us this, is questions like, what touched your heart today? Or what made you laugh today? What was hard for you today? And you learn all these things, these really amazing things from the people you're in the car with or you're sharing a meal with. And it makes you sort of find the meaning in your life. I think if gratitude does anything, it reminds us that we're surrounded by meaning, and we often lose sight of that. And we just sort of need to stop and see the flower buds.
Yep.
And then smell them once they're flowering.
And I think it helps just on the flip side a little bit of that is to remember that we are humans and we're here for a very short period of time, and really nobody owes us anything. So the more we can take care of ourselves and be, if you're wanting friends, be a friend. If you want love, you have to show love. So it's really a matter, if you want to have gratitude in your life, start showing more gratitude. So many of those things. If you want more kindness, be more kind. And it's really hard sometimes as we get self-involved and woe is me sometimes, and things seem to stack up. But it's just, just like I said, you can choose to focus in on that, which will bring more of it, or you can choose to focus on something else that you want more in your life. It's like we tell patients, All right, we need to eat more vegetables. Just add one vegetable or fruit to your plate a day, right? And before you know it, they start looking for other ways to add more fruits and vegetables, and it starts happening. So again, it's in everything in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Focus on the positive and you will grow that in your life.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, this was wonderful. I feel really Dana, what did Dana say? I'm grateful for wonderful doctors that believe in the whole food plant-based lifestyle and powerful healing powers of it. Thank you for helping guide us on our own health. Wow, Dana.
We're thankful for
Thank
you and your
you.
comment.
Yeah,
Thank you.
what a wonderful way to end with your gratitude for us. We really appreciate that. Wow, we really appreciate that. Okay, we will see you all back here next week, and have a wonderful week ahead. And visit us at mora.com, mora.com. Feel free to share.
Share, please.
Share, yeah, and share this stream. And we'll see you back here soon. Okay.